Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life, and today I want to talk about something that's very underdiagnosed and underestimated, and that's endometriosis. March is Endometriosis Awareness Month, so it's a timely time to talk about this, which actually affects way more women than we'd be led to believe. It's estimated that around 1 in 10 women of reproductive age might be suffering from endometriosis. And the problem is that many women go undiagnosed, or they have to wait years for a proper diagnosis. And often it's only recognised if they have problems conceiving, because it's one of the top causes of infertility. So what is endometriosis? Well, it's where the uterine lining, the cells of the uterine lining grow outside of the uterus, such as in the ovaries or the pelvic cavity, but it can also be found elsewhere in the body, most notably in the bowel, the bladder, or even the lungs sometimes. It responds to your normal menstrual cycle. So these cells bleed into the surrounding tissue, which is not only very painful, but over time it can cause lesions and scarring. So what are the symptoms? Well, obviously pain, period pain, cramps, heavy and long periods, IBS-like symptoms as well. You can get UTIs, incontinence because the pelvic floor is affected, bloating, gas, fatigue, and of course infertility. And this is just a sample of some of the symptoms, but they're the main ones. What are the causes? Well, there is a genetic element to this, and there is new research linking it to an autoimmune condition. So rather than being necessarily a hormone-driven condition, well, it is hormone-driven, but that hormones may not be the actual cause. It may be that it's an immune response causing inflammation. So genetic component, inflammation, mainly coming from the gut, where we may have underlying infections or food sensitivities, and I'll talk about that in a sec. Liver may be struggling as well, so there may be too many chemicals, toxins to deal with, maybe too much alcohol, medications, or just poor clearance where the estrogen levels are not cleared properly from the body, and they end up going around the body again and causing more estrogen, and that can exacerbate the symptoms of endometriosis. Diet is another one. If you have a very inflammatory diet, so lots of sugar and carbs and bad fats and processed foods, these can all increase inflammation in the body, which can make things worse too. And of course, hormone imbalance. So, you know, endometriosis is often driven by estrogen, but often, like I said, that exacerbates the root cause rather than causes it in the first place. What's the medical approach? Well, surgery is a common treatment once you're diagnosed. And often you might be prescribed the birth control pill or something that suppresses ovulation. But of course, you know, these two things have their pros and cons. And there are lots of ways you can deal with endometriosis and improve the symptoms naturally. I'm going to go through these now. The first one is diet. So we want the most anti-inflammatory diet we can get. So one of the things that has been proven to exacerbate endometriosis and the symptoms is dairy. Because the casein, specifically the A1 casein in dairy, has been linked with endometriosis and inflammation. So taking dairy out can be a really helpful thing. Gluten cross-reacts with dairy too. So if you do a gluten and dairy elimination for 30 days, see how you get on with that. That's often a very helpful thing to do for symptoms. We want anti-inflammatory foods and blood sugar balancing, because the extra insulin, which we get a lot of when we're eating a lot of carbs and sugar and alcohol, lots of insulin around. Insulin is very inflammatory, and that can cause your symptoms to get worse. So a blood sugar balancing diet, lots of protein and healthy fats and lower refined carbs will help. Trans fats as well. We don't want bad fats or processed foods, because they're just going to increase inflammation. The second thing to do is manage your stress. We know cortisol has a big impact on your hormones and your gut. Now, if you have inflammation in the gut, then cortisol and stress is just going to make that worse. The third thing to do is actually look after your gut. So we want lots of probiotic foods and prebiotic foods. And by that, I mean probiotic foods, live yogurts, and without the non-dairy, obviously, kefir, kombucha, those kind of foods, sauerkraut, with lots of healthy gut probiotics in there. Prebiotic foods, things like onions, garlic leeks, and green bananas that are not ripe, and cold potatoes. All good prebiotics. They feed your good bacteria. And lots of fiber. We want to be moving. We want the bowel to be moving and getting rid of all that excess estrogen. Fourth thing to do naturally is look after your liver. So we're looking at minimizing the chemicals, especially those xenoestrogens, the ones that can latch onto your estrogen and increase your levels of estrogen generally in the body, which are just going to make things worse. Alcohol is one of the things that increases estrogen and inflammation, so we really need to cut down on that. It's going to help your liver too. And eating lots of cruciferous veg, those brassicas, those broccolis, cauliflowers, cabbage, kale, rocket, all those lovely veg that help to detox that extra estrogen. Staying hydrated is incredibly important as well. You want your liver to be able to get rid of things. And lastly, supplements can be very helpful, especially the anti-inflammatories. So we want to look at the fish oils, omega-3s, so EPA and DHA, very important. They're the omega-3s that work most directly to reduce inflammation. We want lots of vitamin D as an anti-inflammatory as well, and it helps your immune system. So if this is an autoimmune condition, we want lots of immune support. Vitamin D is very good for that. You want to get the vitamin D with K2 in it because that's what makes it work so well. A multivitamin with good active levels of B vitamins and all your minerals, because zinc and selenium are really important for your gut lining as well. Turmeric or curcumin is the active form of turmeric. Very important for helping with inflammation and pain. So if you get a nice high dose turmeric or curcumin extract, that can help with pain, as can magnesium in the form of malate. Get magnesium malate for pain, that really can help with that too. Probiotics, always helpful. Lactobacillus in particular for endometriosis. DIM is a lovely supplement for helping the liver get through get rid of that excess estrogen. And Agnus castus is a herb that is very helpful, can be very helpful for increasing progesterone. So when you've got a lot of estrogen around, you want your progesterone to be up and nicely balanced. But that works sometimes, but not always. So with supplements, as always, please check with your doctor or health practitioner if you're on any medication, or if you just generally have a health condition and you just need to check. Now, you may need to look further into gut health if those things you're already doing and everything's, you're doing all those lovely things and it's still not working, you're still in pain. You may need to look into your gut health to identify what's causing that inflammation. And of course, natural progesterone can be very effective, but again, that needs to be prescribed through a doctor, so you need to get proper tests done for that. If you'd like any further information on this, or you have any comments, come through, comment in the box below, and we can always arrange a private chat. Take care.